Alright, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be all about lipless crankbaits, also known as rattle traps. They are once referred to as dummy baits back in the 70s and 80s. There are nowadays there are multiple companies that produce these baits. Back in the day, it was really just a few bait companies that really dove in and made these. Cotton Cordell, Bill Lewis, Strike King, Red Eye Shad is the latest one that's been around for 20 something years. They used to make the diamond shad, if you guys remember that, maybe not. Those are kind of hard to find. They don't necessarily produce those anymore. You can find them in old tackle shops. Highly recommend to pick them up. They're shaped just like the Bill Lewis, but the rattle chamber is a lot different, and the sound that it emits is a lot different. Kind of what you want to look for. That's why you see all these different baits in the bait box. A lot of them, they make a lot different noises from different manufacturers. Like this is a Rapala, this is a Bill Lewis. So you can tell that there's a little bit different noises. That's a Bill Lewis as well. But anyway, nonetheless, you could just tie them on and they're very easy baits to fish. You can really get down to it and, maximize everything by the type of rod that you utilize. The composites that are made into the blank of the rod, whether it's a glass rod, whether it's composite, graphite, all those kind of play into factors of it, but nowadays they make it fairly easy. Rod companies, they got it dialed in nowadays compared to when I first started throwing these baits. You know, it was just your typical 7-foot medium heavy rod, 10 pound to 15 pound monofilament with one of these baits, and you can chuck and wind that bait for hours and you can catch a lot of fish with it. More refined type of technique far as the lipless crankbait is to put it on braid and feather it through some grass that you have, some submergent grass, sparse grass clumps, all types of stuff, lily pad stems, rock, wood, open water. These baits are very versatile as far as how you can fish them. I tend to just chuck and wind. That's the way I normally do it. Sometimes I feather it through the grass. You can utilize it on fluorocarbon as well to feather it through the grass. It just kind of how thick the grass is and what time of the year and how they're really biting the bait. A lot of pressure, I'd probably change up from braid to fluorocarbon and in hopes of getting more bites. That's just little tips that you can do and utilize. But far as bait companies go, I like the Strike King Red Eye Shad. I like the Bill Lewis Rattle Trap, which is this one right here, which are these ones right here. They come in so many different colors. These baits to me are probably responsible for more times that an angler is going to get hooked fishing with these baits. So just beware of that and keep that in the back of your mind, that the more you fish with this type of a bait, the more chances that one of these hooks are going to go right into your hand or face, arm, or the angler that you're fishing with. Better him than you, I guess. Should have been faster. But a lot of these baits, if you don't take care of them, they will rust. The hooks rust, so I tend to leave the hooks off of them. This, matter of fact, was one of the first rattle traps I fished. I think it's a Lucky Craft, if I remember. I'm not sure. But it was one of the first rattle traps that I yo-yoed standing on shore, fishing a pond in East Texas that I yo-yoed and I was able to catch fish on a post front day after reading and watching some videos on how to do that. It was very cool, so I saved that. It's more of a nostalgic type of a bait for me now. But you can clearly see that Bill Lewis, they make some pretty cool color schemes. This is a bluegill and a rainbow trout. They flat out will catch fish. I tend to like the red craw colors more than any other color, really. It did start out with this sexy shad color right here that Kevin Van Dam designed for Strike King. And I think it come out in 2006 or 2007. It was like revolutionary. Like, it changed fishing. Everybody that was fishing, every bait company wanted to make their baits with this color scheme. If you look at all the other names, they're based off of Sexy Shad. It was one of the first color schemes out there. I think Booyah come out with Foxy Mama is their name of their color scheme, but it's the same scheme on this. So, just a little history of that color scheme. I like the 1/2 ounce for most of the applications. When I go for targeting bigger fish or deeper water, I will jump up to the 3/4 ounce, or if I have massive expansive flats of grass or submergent grass, I will put this on a 7'6" rod, depending on how thick the grass is. If it's sparse enough, I will get away with 17-pound fluorocarbon on this 3/4 ounce bait on a 7'6" medium heavy rod. If it's thick grass, I'll throw this on a 7'6" heavy action rod with 65-pound braid, just to beef it up so I can throw it and lodge it in and rip it out of the grass. It helps out a whole lot more. This one, I'm probably just going to stick with 17 pound fluorocarbon if I'm going to fish it on fluorocarbon. You can get away all the way down. I'll fish it all the way down to a 10-pound monofilament. If that's all you got, that's all you got. It'll still work. If you think about that, before all this braid come out, guys were fishing these baits and they were fishing it on monofilament before braid and fluorocarbon, before fluorocarbon even come out. So far as sizes, I tend to stay with the 1/2 ounce to 3/4 ounce size. I have some 1 ounce sizes. I have a couple of these smaller sized ones for highly pressured water or smallmouths. I have found out that will smoke these smaller sized baits. Largemouth will as well. I usually fish these on spinning rod and reels, spinning outfits, whether on 10-pound braid to 8-pound monofilament. This is a Berkeley War Pig. It's becoming one of my new favorite lipless crankbaits. They have pretty cool color schemes. This brown craw is one of my new favorite color schemes to be throwing. As you can see, it's got some hook rash. It's been well used. It's already caught me a few bigger fish. This is a 6 cents. I forget the name of his lipless crankbaits. Maybe the Quake, I think so. Anyway, it's nice. This is just a Bass Pro Shop. It was a part of a kit that was given to me. It still will get bit. Here we go. This is a live target bluegill. The hook started to rust, so I took them off. They've knocked the eyes off of it already, as you can clearly see. So yes, really it doesn't matter. These baits are fairly cheap. They don't get too expensive. This is probably one. Now all those other ones are really good, year round, mostly in the warmer months. I like to utilize those. The one company that I will always go with is going to be Rapala. This is a Rapala. I can't remember the name of the bait. Anyway, it's their version of the Lipless crankbait rattle trap. I tell you what, in cold water, I've had a giant come up and smack this bait and not hook up, but I got to see the giant swirl afterwards. And it was out in the middle of a lake up in Ferndale, Washington. So after that happened, I'm a big believer of utilizing this in, dark and overcast, cloudy days, conditions. This white and orange bottom will pop really good, especially if you got clear water on a grass lake. Anyway, that is far as the cold weather. As soon as the water gets around, towards the end of February, it starts to bump up, 45. March, you usually have at least low 50s. These baits are going to probably start to pick up your first fish of the year. A lot of times you could just fish on 17-pound fluorocarbon monofilament, or 50-pound braid, 65-pound braid, 40-pound braid, whatever you can utilize. If you're really trophy fishing, I highly recommend, no matter what manufacturer makes the bait, I highly recommend popping the split rings off and changing the hooks. The type of hooks that I've utilized for the last 10 years, and the reason I picked these, the Eagle Claw, laser sharp, round bend, and their needle point. They're 3 times strong. If you look right there, so they're just like the KVD triple grips. 3 times strong. They come 5 to a pack. I can pick those up and buy those at a local store here in Tacoma area of Tacoma, Washington. So I can utilize that. I don't have to order them. They're inexpensive for the most part. I think they're less than $5 a pack. You get 5 hooks per pack. Most baits require 2 hooks. You got 2 baits with new hooks on there and a catch a fish all year long. I use top waters, crankbaits, lipless, every type of bait. I utilize this type of a treble hook for the most part. I like the EWG and the extra wide gap type of hooks like this, like you see. They do keep the fish pinned a little bit better, especially when you have thick grass. But the round bend, I've used those for so long that it's hard to move on to anything else. So I just try to stick with that. I fish them all the way, like I said, on a spinning rod and reel, a 6.5 to 7 foot spinning reel, medium action, with 10-pound line on there, 8 to 12-pound line. On bait casters, I go from 10-pound monofilament, 10-pound fluorocarbon, all the way up to 17-pound on a 7'6" medium heavy, basically your spinner bait rod. For heavy grass, I would utilize a 7-foot medium heavy with 50-pound braid. And for thicker grass or larger expansive flats, I would utilize the 7'6" heavy action rod with 65-pound braid and a bigger trap on it so you can cover more water. The types of retrieves aren't that difficult. You basically just cast it out there and wind it in. If you're not getting bit utilizing that type of a retrieve, you may want to pump it a little bit, maybe add a couple of stops and starts, let it fall down in the grass or fall down on the bottom, and then rip it up, start the retrieve again. You just want to kind of play with it. The fish will tell you what they like. Just remember what you were doing when you get bit so you could replicate that and do that over and over to hopefully generate more strikes. Therefore, get on a pattern or get on a nice bite and go from there. Once again, this is pretty much everything that I know about rattle traps and lipless crankbaits. They're a highly underused lure nowadays with all these new fancy tackle companies that come out with all these crazy lures. The big swim bait craze is going on, but this is a lure that's utilized in the early spring to find fish. And once it gets past that time of the year, a lot of the anglers, they hang this lure up and they don't use it anymore throughout the year. Down south, I know they utilize it a lot more towards the end of the year in the fall time. Up here in the Pacific Northwest, not so much. I'm even guilty of being on that swim bait craze lately. I can't help it. It's difficult. Once you get bit on that 10-inch swim bait, you never want to throw anything else really. But once again, that was all pretty much everything I know all about lipless crankbaits, rattle traps. Hit that like button, comment below. Once again, thank you for watching. Swimbait79 out.